will get started right away. Hi everyone, how are you? Good evening, good evening. I've started without the suit jacket on just in case I get cold. I can put it on and we don't have to be distracted by the heat. So we're going to get down to business today. Are you all ready? So welcome, and interesting. Tonight our topic is how to deal with competition in social media, and it's fascinating to me that I even put that in there. It's like as time goes by, the more and more I realize that actually what we all know in our guts is that there are plenty of customers for all of us, that there's not really competition that exists in the first place, that that's a crazy idea, that even if someone sells the same thing as you, it is probably highly unlikely that they have the same passion as you. And I had mentioned last week that we would also talk about dealing with some of the negativity and some of that sort of thing. So I would be remiss to not offer that to you all, to bathe in negativity and drag you out of it tonight. So I'll go there since I said I would, though tonight I'm like, negativity, what's that? And then I've also thought that what we should do is talk a little bit about Twitter, because we've really not talked about Twitter that much. And so if we have some extra time, we might go there because I know you all have some questions. My sense is that it is not the easiest way for you all to make bonds with your clients in the place where most of you are. However, it would be not a great social media class if I didn't give you some content and some tricks and some smartness about Twitter. So I want to make sure to do that also. So even if you come back to it later, you will want to do that. So before we start jamming on it, let's take a brief moment, close our eyes and relax and just breathe into sales beyond your wildest dreams. It's always good to root in the remembering of the reason why we are here. It's that wacky energy called money, and when it comes to us, we call it sales. And it's making sure that what we are giving in the universe, we are being on the receiving end of also. And just pay attention, notice, just check with yourself for a minute. This is week 6, which I cannot even begin to believe. And so for a moment, just take a moment and congratulate yourself for whatever the big shift has been for you during the 6 weeks. That could be increased sales, it could be that you've been brave and you've stuck it out, it could be that you've done homework even though you're someone who never does homework. It could be, if you're watching the recording, that tonight you went to your son's baseball game and that was more important than a class that was pre-recorded, and that's what you value in life, and that's okay too. So just for a moment, if you'll really, it's important to celebrate the victories. It's important to let yourself feel good, because it's like this little template that gets stuck in your head and then you want more. So I would even say, if you want to throw up in the chat, or if you're on the phone, if you want to press *6 and let me know what your biggest victory has been from the class, that would be great. And I know there's a bit of a delay on the chat, so I will keep going, and you all can throw those things up there and applaud for each other and make sure to get the good content that is coming. So, okay, here we go. I like have on my goofy, funny, my dollar ring. I'm going to let myself do that today. So, what we really want to talk about tonight is one of the blocks that people have in social media a lot. And that is the idea of, but what about my competition? What do I do with them? And I even hear sometimes like, well, but what if my competition is taking the same class from you as I am? How will that work? Or I am aware that people sometimes are like, people are saying things on my wall I don't want them to say, or how do I deal with negative customers? And so I just think it's worth touching base on all of this. It's sort of like this is your emergency kit. So if you ever need to delve into any of these things, here's some tools that are at your disposal. And I would say 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to face these things. So it's more of like a prevention, you know where to go during a fire drill kind of thing in case there's a fire. But I do think that there are a couple of key pieces of information to know about this. Angela says you keep crashing. Angela, 2 things you can do on Ustream, and it's just good to know too if you use it for yourself for shows. Refreshing always will work, and if refreshing doesn't work, unfortunately, either you may have a lot of different applications and that sort of thing that are open, so you might want to restart your computer. And if not, we'll certainly have a phone recording. It looks like a number of you are having issues tonight. My apologies. If that keeps happening, then what we might do is, let me just warm up Vocal for a second, and then we could actually be on both places at once, possibly. Let me see about the scheduling there, because I don't want you all to be frustrated and having to consistently refresh or deal with things. So let's see. My events. So just take a moment. And I suppose I can have Vocal and Ustream run at the same time, so you will have access to an easy recording, which is great. Give me just a second. We're calling it now. Let's see how fast they'll let me schedule. So here is what we will do, and I am going to need to grab headphones, but if you all are having a hard time, Bud Light commercial. That's interesting. It sounds like Ustream did an upgrade today, and so I think that's one of the difficulties. I had a hard time logging in. It said I couldn't even access my class. So thank you all for letting me know, and I will give you the Vocal code in just 1 second. And I will just grab my headphones and we'll see if we can do this. Okay, so if you all will hop over there onto Vocal, then you know what, it's going to take 8 minutes before that happens. Hold on 1 second, let me see if I can do something else. Sorry about that. I have never had this happen, but you know what, here's a quick lesson if I'm not completely frozen. Technology is always going to fail all of us. I just promise. I just promise. It just happens that way. It has problems. And so the thing to know about that is you can't let that stop you, because you all haven't left the class. It's not fun, but I'm working on something else. And so the transparency of you all seeing me responding to your needs is probably pretty darn helpful. But just to know also, invariably, weird things will happen when you try to do your own classes, etc. Okay, so I changed it. The class is a Bud Light commercial, Sherry, you're hysterical. Okay, so let me know when you go to the event that I've posted second, which is called Now To. I'm just jumping on there. You should be able to see me in 1 second. If you've not been on Vocal.com, what you'll want to do to get in the chat is create an account. You can do that in the upper right. So I am on there. Let me know if you all are there. You can even type into Ustream when you get onto Vocal if you want to. But we're over there. I'm just going to stand up for a moment so that I can get my headphones, but you all should be able to join me there. Dun, 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 bum, 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 bum. 1 moment. Sherry says it's not showing up. JP, it's VOKLE. Oh, I get it, you all. I'm so sorry. Ustream, you know, this may be the moment when we all decide to go to Vocal. It blocks when I put in websites. Sorry. So there you go. That's the link, and if you pop on over there, I will put on my headphones. Otherwise, you're going to get extraordinary amounts of feedback. If you are on the phone, I apologize. But this is what listening to your target market looks like. And it also allows you all to see, like, when you get back to this place and you're freaking out because your tweet doesn't work or your whatever isn't happening, you can just go to this place in your mind and go, yeah, it wasn't the greatest, but it didn't break a deal for me. It's actually a really good way. It's sort of interesting. Great, people are saying vocal is working. I love it. So you are welcome to chat there also in the lower right-hand part of your screen where I've just chatted hi. I would ask you not to tweet the event, though normally you'd want to, just because you all paid for this class and this isn't password protected. So you'll find that other people will join us, unfortunately, if you do tweet the event, and it might not be the kind of people that you want in the chat, that sort of thing. So this is interesting. Here we go. So when we're talking about negativity and when we're talking about things being difficult with clients, I'm just going to go there for a second, then we'll go back to the competition thing. Here's the truth about clients, that the people that you have the most difficult time with, if you work it through with them, they will become your customers for life. The bonding that they will feel with you, it's, I once had a friend who said, like, intimacy is actually born through difficulties. It's not when you're in the lovely first part of romance and everything's great. That's not actual intimacy. It's when, for instance, this weekend I had someone very close to me have a liver transplant out of the blue. He wasn't even sick. That kind of thing brings about the kind of intimacy you cannot imagine. So the same thing happens with your clients. If you have difficulty, for instance, we just had a technical difficulty, and what I did is, responded to you all. Hopefully you all felt included in that process, and I'm going to be thinking in my head of a way to make up for that if I need to make up to that, for that, and ask you all about that. But being in that process with anyone is brilliant. In a way, when you're at the top of your sales game, having bad things actually can really make it a lot more solidifying with your clients than if you don't. So what if someone posts on your page that they hate your product, that the service was awful, that it really didn't go well? A couple of things. First of all, you always want to take the high road. It is just the faster, easier way in business. I'm sure I don't have to tell you all this. Second of all, if they are on your page and saying horrible, horrific things that you would prefer the world not to see, it's absolutely fine to delete that from there, because most likely what they really want is resolution. They want their shipping refunded, they want some sort of arrangement made so they feel like they're heard and so they feel like they got their money's worth. And most likely, honestly, unless you're a huge, massive company and they can't get to you any other way, someone who's going to post that on your wall is not someone who's actually looking for restitution or things to work out. They may just be somebody who wants attention or that kind of thing. And so you can even contemplate blocking them if you want to. When we look at things like competition, it may be that just my mind has expanded so much since I first wrote that sales page that it's entertaining or interesting to look back at. But even in this class, we've got a number of people who do the same things. We've got Debbie and Mary Claire, who both do face stuff and have huge hearts. So it's not just like one person is like, I am all about acne and that's all I'm about. I don't care about anything else. Like, they're both people who are like, we care about your skin and we really love you. And so there still is a very different niche for both of them in terms of what they're looking at doing long term. Mary Claire wants to have a salsa center where people can come and get all sorts of wonderful services done to them and learn how to salsa. And that's like a teeny clip that's just enough to get you to go to her page and chat with her about it, because I think that's awesome. Debbie is looking at doing things that really involve women feeling comfortable in their own skin, which is different than just skincare. Both of you like the charity aspect. I mean, there are like a multitude of things. We have Rachel and Susan, who both are in jewelry. And you might even have a similar target market in terms of the people who would buy from you. You're located in the same kind of area. And the deal is that none of this, there are so many people in the world who will buy jewelry. There are so many people in the world who will buy skincare. What I love is when we look at things like Mary Claire and Debbie, you all talking back and forth about skincare on each other's walls. That is really the way that you want to deal with your competition, quite frankly. There's someone I know who talks about you want, and I may have said this before, but you want to swim with dolphins, you don't want to be with sharks. So there have been people who have posted gross things about me on Facebook. Believe it or not. And that's fine. And as you become more and more visible, I get to be the poster child for that's what happens, and that's okay. And that's all right. It really is okay. And then you can take those things off of the walls, or if they're on other people's walls, you can leave like there are a multitude of ways to figure out about how you want to deal with those specific things. But what's really key here is, on the other hand, there's a wonderful social media woman who I adore, who is the sweetest. And when people were giving me a hard time on Facebook, I emailed her and I was like, Marla, are people ever mean to you? I'm having a hard day. And she was like, sweetheart. And she gave me the best advice. And if you really look succinctly at our target markets, it's probably very similar. Yesterday I went on her page and I said, Marla's the greatest. I love her. She has such grace and such warmth, and you are so lucky if you're her client. And unbelievably lucky if you're her friend. And so in the back of my head, there's a little voice that goes, yes, but were you trying to get clients? But that's not even the beginning of the thought. And when we look at the mindset stuff, I think that you're really going to see there's so much possibility for all of us. It just is, it's the same thing as if you spend your day unfriending people on Facebook out of the fear that you're not your target market. It's that same fear that's coming up when you're going, yes, but maybe people are going to steal people from my page. I have a client today who got an email from one of her clients who said it was a Facebook message from someone else, and it said, because you've liked so-and-so's fan page, I thought you'd like my fan page too. She just directly, distinctly was saying, you're my target market. I'm taking you from this other page and bringing you to my page. And my client, we then took the high road and said, I'm sure you can understand that this is a little uncomfortable, so please don't do that. And I know I've said this before, but this could not be more key, just in terms of everything about sales. That I used to work on Madison Avenue in this shop where when people would come in, you could see the faces on some of the salespeople, like, commission, I've got to make money. And just stepping on each other's toes. And it was this sense, you could almost look at them like they were scavengers, like little rats or something, I'm gonna make money. And the deal is that those people never did as well as the folks who would help other people, smile at all the clients, no matter if they were theirs or not. And I think in terms of quality of life, it's like the Ebenezer Scrooge kind of thing. Do you want to go home at the end of the day and be lonely and or whatever. I mean, God bless Ebenezer Scrooge. Maybe he was really happy, and I've got the story a little off. But what you don't want to spend your time thinking about, to use a double negative, is your competition, because it really doesn't even matter. Now, I did listen to a really interesting call the other day about marketing, and they were talking about, it was go see what your competition is offering, and whatever the end of it was. They renamed it somehow so it sounded nicer. It's like a spiritual name. And I will tell you, if I've not said it before, that one of the best resources that I had when I was in real estate was a guy who he'd been in the neighborhood longer than I had. He did a great job, really smart, great guy. And I would tell my real estate agents at that point, just watch what he's doing, watch what Angela's doing, do it a little bit better, a little bit faster. And he and I ultimately talked about going into business together. And then I moved here, so that didn't happen. But he was going to actually be an investor in a new business that I was going to undertake. That's astounding. So if you play above board, I have to say that being an entrepreneur, there's a certain personality type, and you're probably tough, and you can probably stand big risk. And the competitive spirit probably somewhere in you feels sort of good. So if all of that is true, then what I would say is important to know also is, do be aware what people who are competing with you are doing if you want to be relevant to your marketplace. It's also, and I don't mean it from a negative place, it's not about copying them or any of that other kind of stuff. But what it will have you do is really hone your message clearly. Because if you're able to see that absolutely everyone has become a spiritual coach, and that's what they're calling themselves, then perhaps you'll up your game and go, you know what, it's not just about spirit with me, and it's not just that I'm a coach. Perhaps I am a spiritual transformer, or a, like spirit and body worker. It could be a number of different things. But I think what it does, if done well, my mother used to always say, you don't want to be in the slow heat in swimming races. You want to be in the fast heat because it makes you go faster. And that's absolutely the truth. So I think that it's actually pretty smart to have some role models out there, have some people who are ahead of you, and they don't even need to be in your particular field. It can be as simple as, like, if you sell time management coaching packages, that you could look at someone who sells relationship coaching, but you love what they're doing, and you're able to watch how they launch things. You're able to watch what their posts are like. They're perfect people for you to JV with. I mean, when's the last time you heard of like a time management love something? I think, honestly, if you're going to talk to women who are getting close to, I know for me, it came down to time. It was like, it's time. So if someone had marketed to me like, we'll do this for you quickly, we'll teach you where you're wasting time and stuff in relationships, I would have signed on for that. So you want to think creatively about that. And beyond that, I know I didn't give you real homework for last week, so you're getting some early tonight, is this. We talked a little bit about what are JVs and what are affiliates, and here is something that is super cool. If you have someone who's of a like mind, who is a dolphin, who sees your point of view, who supports you, who's your mastermind partner, who's someone's work you admire, whatever the case may be, the deal is this. If they have a similar target market to yours, doing a joint venture with them, figuring out how you can support them, doing any kind of launch with them, doing a vocal show. The great thing about this technology is I can be here in LA, you can be anywhere in the world, and we can be on the screen together, which is pretty darn cool. So if you want to do something like that, it's not tricky. There's not more outlay. There are two minds that are invested in making money, and quite frankly, someone else is not going to have your blocks about you. They're going to be able to see the greatness that's in you. I'm getting ready for a new launch today. I was like a little jammed up about it. I was like, I'm teaching people how to launch. And I know that big fear means big results, and so I've had some big fear, so I'm ready for some big results. So I called up a coach. I was like, help me. I don't have time to wait until I'm not afraid. Because we all can't see stuff about ourselves. So if you work with a really good JV partner and you really want to like them as a person, I don't even care almost what they sell. Just the fact that you'll have another pair of business eyes on your business and you can work with them. In terms of social media, you're going to have a lot more people looking at you. You're going to have someone else who's saying how great you are. The main thing, if you do any of these video shows, is if you have a guest, and I would actually, it's interesting that we're on Vocal tonight, because I would actually suggest that possibly you do it. You want to think about having a guest in there. If you have someone who jumps in and gives a testimonial and they say, I love her stuff, it's so cool. Because when someone else is talking about your product, we don't feel sold. I can sit here and tell you, like, you need to buy this BlackBerry from me, you need to buy this BlackBerry from me, you need to buy this BlackBerry from me. And you're going to feel really confronted. My fiance can come in the room and go, her BlackBerry's really cool. Maybe you want to think about, but they're pretty nifty. We got a whole bunch of it. It just takes the pressure off. So if someone else is there and able to jump in and say, oh my gosh, the chocolates she sells are amazing. The nonprofit work she does is stupendous. It is an easier sale in a lot of ways. And that person can be the doorway to so many more sales than any one person that you're going to find in social media. So, oh my gosh, JP, you don't want my BlackBerry. It's horrible. Please don't buy my BlackBerry. It's falling apart. So you want to contemplate this. And here's something else that I forever was like, what are affiliates really? What is a JV really? How does this really work? And the deal is, it just needs to make sense. It needs to be logical. You need to obviously not be taken advantage of. But if any of you approach anybody else in the class and you're like, I haven't done my call yet, could we do it together? Could we do my video or the video show together? I'll talk a little bit about yours, you'll talk a little bit about mine. If they've got the target market, there's no reason why you shouldn't do that. And the other thing that's really key about this is just the era that we live in and the way that people process information is what's really important is people in community, it's why social media works, feel comfortable and feel the transparency and are a lot more open to purchasing than like if you're the used car salesperson on the car lot. So I would say, even if you've never done a launch, if you have a really good friend who's an entrepreneur and and here's, again, I'll say it for the third time, it may have even been more than that, you really want to make sure that they're above board with money, that they're clear about, not calling at 3 a.m. if that's a problem for you. You want to write out even a contract for it, even if it's a really simple, basic contract. You can go to LegalZoom.com and pick one. There are other resources as well. There's a great resource that I know someone's launching soon that I'll certainly tell you all about when that happens. And get going, because when you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like doing your launch, when you feel like Susan does, like I do, you're like, my launch. If you're bonded with someone else, it's not nearly as difficult because they'll wake up in the morning and they'll be excited today about having bills to pay. And tomorrow morning they won't be excited and you'll be excited. So it's a brilliant way. The real power of social media, if I had to boil it down to one thing, the real reason that it works so well, I mean, there's so many reasons, but just in sheer numbers, there is such an exponential reach of what can be done. And so in terms of getting people on your pages, connecting with folks, that's why I keep saying you want 2,000 friends, because at that point people start seeing you and coming to you. And so it totally changes the landscape of social media for you, which is going to be really important. You want those folks coming to you. So I think I'm going to talk a little bit about yeah, I want to talk a little bit about two things. I want to talk about Twitter and how you build numbers in Twitter. So let's start there. So if I've not given you this tip before, I see a lot of you struggling with building your numbers, and so I want you to have this first. Tweepml.org, T-W-E-E-P as in Patrick, M as in Mary, L as in Lindsay.org. You can go there, you can enter keywords, and you can find lists of Twitter people. So you can find entrepreneurs, you can find women, you can find teachers, you can find moms. So it's very easy to quickly build the number of people that you're following on Twitter. When you hit 2,000 people that you're following, Twitter requires that you have a certain number of followers. They don't disclose what that is, but if you get to 2,000 people and you go, it won't let me add anyone else, that's because you've reached that threshold. I love it. Susan says, do I need Twitter? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to give you another resource. But I just want you to have this sort of like as a textbook, so when you come back to it. When you've hit that 2,000 person mark, what needs to happen is more people need to follow you. Now you can sit and wait for that to happen. You can ask people to do it, or you can go to friendorfollow.com. That's friend or follow, FOLLOW.com. And if you enter your name, it will show you all of the people that are not following you back. And so you can go through and you can go, wow, some of these people who said they were teachers on TweetML don't really look like my teacher target market, so I'm going to unfollow them, and then you can continue to build your numbers. But it's not because Twitter is broken. Do you need Twitter? It's a great question. I don't know that you do, but I just was feeling a little remiss because we hadn't talked about it at all, so I'm going to be succinct about it, Susan, and other folks who are wondering about it, but I think you want to know the ability that's out there and what the difference is between it and Facebook. A couple of things. To do it easily and just start to build things, I would suggest that. Make a Twitter account. It takes 5 minutes. And then on Facebook, you can find an application called Twitter, I believe. If you enter it in your search box, it'll come up as an application, and then you add the application, and what that will do is with any post you put on Facebook, it'll go directly over to Twitter. So you're automatically updating. The deal is that there are bazillions of people on Twitter, and your sweet spot might be there. It might not be. My sense is that people being able to see your faces while they interact with you, and because you all haven't naturally gravitated to Twitter, might be a real reason why Facebook is going to be more friendly for you. However, on Twitter are so many folks, and there are some really easy ways to find your target market. So I think it's worth setting up. And if you start to see sales that come in from there, that's awesome. So here's another resource. Is it Tweet Search or Tweet Search? Isn't that interesting? I might have to look it up for 1 second. There's a way that you can look up by keyword to find people there. Which is effective to a certain degree or not. I mean, it's like if you're going to be completely unattended with Twitter, then you're not going to find loads of stuff. But the other thing is that so many people are using it that I think you'd be wrong to not possibly do it. And since simply doing Facebook will basically let you do Twitter, it makes some pretty good sense to me. So Twitter has also started to offer more things. It's offering, that's fascinating. It's offering suggestions of people for you to follow. It's also offering sponsored ads and that sort of thing. So this is fascinating. This is not a site that I thought that I was going to pop onto, but I'm going to pop it up there really quickly. Search.twitter.com. You can search by keyword there also. Here's what's key. Honestly, if your target market is active on Facebook and they're also active on Twitter, for instance, if they've got on their About Them section of their page also a Twitter account, if you're wanting to sell them a $5,000 package, a $10,000 package, if they're going to be a buyer for a shop that you're going to sell to, if they're the publisher of books that you want to be writing for, you also want to be on Twitter with them. The difference between Twitter and Facebook is it's much faster. It's a lot more succinct as well, where I will tell you only to post one time in the morning on Facebook and let it ride. On Twitter, you want to do it 3 or 4 times a day. Just a couple other key things, and I'll jump off this. You will see on Twitter what they call RT, that's retweeting. So if you like what someone says, instead of liking it like you do on Facebook, you'll go to the right of what they've written and you click retweet, and it will retweet what they've said. That's like a nice gold star, a nice pat on the back, a nice way to acknowledge whatever they said, a great way to bond with people because it's like complimenting. I've heard Twitter compared to a cocktail party, and I find that to be true. At first, people are sort of like, no one likes me on Twitter, and that's okay. Twitter definitively appeals to a very specific kind of folk most of the time. However, you know, if I'm really struggling with weight loss and I happen to be new on Twitter and I like it and I've not found anywhere else on Google, on Facebook, anyone to help me with weight loss, and then I go into Twitter and I'm just fooling around and you come up, then it's really a great thing that you've been on there. And so a couple of other key things to know. There's something called hashtags on Twitter, which is the number sign, and then you write whatever word you want. So peonies is going to be the word. So if I had a tweet about peonies and I wanted everyone to be able to find me by searching the word peonies, you put the number sign right in front of it with no space. A couple other key things. If you want to respond to someone, you always start your tweet with the @ sign and their name. That way they know it's directed to them. If by chance you just want to talk about me, but you don't want me to think it's a message for me, a good little trick is to put a period in front of it. And what else? For instance, the last time I did this class, we were more Twitter focused, and so I had created a hashtag for the class. And so if you enter MSVSM, which stands for Massive Sales Via Social Media, I don't know if the tweets were old enough that you might not see them, but that's a way for all of us to be in communication, and we can use that again because no one's using that. So if you go onto Twitter and put something up and put that, then all of us can search that and we know it's all about the class. And so it's a great way to get attention to what you're doing. It's good for events. And you will find that there are some influential folks that are cooking in Twitter. So I would say the easiest thing to do most likely is if you found someone on Facebook that you really admire the social media of, go and check what they're up to on Twitter and just get a feel for it. So is it mandatory? No. Is it something that might work? Of course. In the same way that LinkedIn, if you have a product or a service that really is something that's going to get the attention of people who are recruiters, of people who are looking for jobs, creating a group on LinkedIn is a brilliant thing because you can have a lot of conversations with those folks. Also on LinkedIn, what you can do is it gives you the option to check a little box that says T, and so it hooks it up with Twitter. So then what will happen is you post on Facebook, because you connected Facebook and Twitter, it posts on Twitter, and because you connected Twitter and LinkedIn, it posts on LinkedIn. And so that's an easy way to be active in all those places. I will also say on LinkedIn, what you really want to do, I find most beneficial to most businesses, is the recommendation area. You want to have 3 to 4 people that you know write glowing testimonials of you there, because if someone's thinking about spending a lot of money with you or buying things wholesale from you or publishing your book, one of the things they might do is be on LinkedIn and look at the reviews of you, and that's under, I don't think it's called, I think it's called recommendations. My apologies for blanking on that for a moment. So that's a little information about those things. What I would say is that sales really are coming in from video shows. I see that happening a lot more than I see that happening in other places. I do certainly have clients who do well on Twitter, and that's fine. But if that's something that just feels a little overwhelming, which it's been my sense from the class that it's been like, oh, Twitter, you don't have to go there. The deal is that you did not come to become a social media master. You came to make sales. And so what we want to really look at things through is through the view of, is it making you sales? Is it not making you sales? So, something else that I wanted to mention, it's interesting, it was in my notes, and if you have more questions about Twitter, feel free to throw them in the chat. Another great tool is socialumph.com. Oh, I'm going to give you good tips. Here we go. So socialumph, OOMPH.com, is a great resource because it can automate your tweets. Now, when that can become important, if you are tweeting on a regular basis, or if you're just too tired to post on Facebook. I talk to a lot of people who, and this is true for me also, like there's some days that I can sit down, I can bang out 30 posts that are brilliant. I'm just like in my zone of genius, and I could, oh, I want to post 80 things. The next day, I can't think of anything to post on Facebook. So the deal is that you might want to contemplate, if you're having a hard time posting every day, writing 10 different things. And then go to socialumph.com. What you'll also want to do is connect with an application instead of Twitter on Facebook, something called Selective Tweets. And I know I'm moving fast, and I know that you all will have the recording so you can go back to this. But if you enter Selective Tweets in the search box on Facebook and then connect those two, what happens is this. Through Socialumph, you can program all your posts for Facebook. So you're not even tied to your computer in terms of when things post there. Socialumph will go to Twitter first, and then Twitter, if you put a hashtag FB at the end of your tweet, will automatically post on Facebook. So if you're going on vacation for a week, it's great. If you're someone who's like, I want to think about social media in terms of writing posts like once a month, it's also a great idea. If you are finding that you're not posting on a regular basis, which I see a lot of people doing, here's my big message for tonight. Post every day on Facebook. I am in there looking for things to like and chat about with you all every day. And every day that I go there and there's not something that I can say, oh my gosh, hire her. Oh my gosh, she's wonderful. You're missing huge business. Huge business. Because I bring my 5,000 eyeballs along with me. And we all know, I mean, a lot of you are parents. Inconsistent parenting doesn't work. Inconsistent pet owning, inconsistent dieting, any of that. If I diet today and then don't diet for 2 days, who cares? So the deal is that if you have attracted someone's attention, they're in love with you, and then you don't show up for 3 days, they may go find somebody else that they're in love with. So I would say you're shooting your business in the foot if you're not posting every day. In the same way that if you're posting 3 times a day, you're shooting your business in the foot. So you need to be posting every day. And even if, grab your mastermind partner and say, write 5 posts for me. I don't know what to do. Please write 5 posts for me. We can always think better for other people than we can think of for ourselves. Go into the Ning site. Be like, can somebody please write 3 posts for me? It's so simple. All of us, honestly, as entrepreneurs, there innately is all the raw material you need to be able to sell up a storm. And don't tell me you can't sell for somebody else. So if you offer to each other to help, then you'll have enough posts. But you need to be in there every day. And when, I think it was Susan who said to me, does that mean Saturday and Sunday too? Yes, when I say every day, I actually mean every day. So if you have to take Saturday and Sunday off, I understand. But at the same time, if someone's in love with you, don't you want to be there for them? So I see more questions coming up, and let me just make sure that they're totally on the nose. Can you tell us what kind of numbers you've seen in regards to numbers of people attending initial launch on a video presentation? Totally, I can tell you what kind of numbers. And what's the etiquette on Facebook for saying something back as people are posting responses to my post? Always talk to them. It's a conversation. If they've started responding to you, you totally want to talk to them, because honestly, they're probably in your sales funnel, unless it's about your dog and your dog has nothing to do with what you're selling. So Debbie, if you're talking about skincare and they're like, oh, this was so fascinating, then figure out the next thing that feels right to them. Ask them, oh, I'm so glad I was of help. Are there other questions I can answer? Let them tell you about their pain and then solve it. Video presentation, here's the deal. It is directly proportional to the number of people who are your friends. So you really want to try to get to 2,000 before you do an initial video presentation. You really do. And I'm giving you a huge goal, and that's so that you've got a lot of people who show up, because it's not fun when people don't show up. And you also really want to take a look back at the class where I assigned doing the show, because there are a number of things in there, everything from the time of day, the day of the week, how long in advance you want to promote it, how you want to write a topic title. Like, there's a formula to it. It's the same thing as like if I just gave you my car keys and you'd never driven, I said go drive a car, versus if I took you to driver's ed for 6 months. Like, the person who I just give the car keys to and have them run out there, it's going to be probably not great. If you don't know where the brake pedal is, it's not going to work very well. So if you don't have the kind of title for your Facebook event that invites people to your event that we discussed in prior classes, the turnout is not going to be so high. So I can tell you, well, I'm not going to say more than that, because it's very possible. I mean, it's just about building numbers. That's not that hard. It takes a little bit of time at the beginning, but do you realize, like, if you had been in business 10 or 20 years ago, and I said to you, would you like 1,000 or 2,000 people who might buy from you? Would you like to be connected to them? Do you know how much work you had to do to get connected to those people? It was unbelievable. Like, how are you going to do that? You're going to have to network your rear end off. You're going to have to try to figure out, like, what PTA, PEO, Lions Club, like, all those things you can join. Then you don't even know if they're interested. And then here you've got people on social media sitting there talking about their pain. They're raising their hand and they're saying, come find me, help me. So we used to laugh because the wedding people, I would go on to Twitter. I'm so sorry, my nose keeps itching. I would go onto Twitter and I'd be like, help, can someone just please ship me a wedding in a box? I'll buy it. And I'd put I'd put the word wedding, and no one would respond to me. I was like, are the wedding people crazy that they're not searching the word wedding? And I'm there, and I'm sincerely saying that if someone had everything I would need, I would write them a check. So you want to be in tune with your target market. You want to see what's cooking with them. It takes a little bit of time to build this at the beginning, but an hour a day. Friend people an hour a day. Because once you start to get to those higher numbers of people, Get active in groups also. If you find groups that are relevant to what you do, get on there, start contributing content, contribute value. You'll get more friends that way also. Friend each other in the class. I'm amazed by how many of you haven't friended each other in the class. So I would even say throw in the chat your links for Facebook and or Twitter so that you can make sure everyone's connected here. But you all, you know, if it were me, tomorrow I'd go on the Ning site and I'd say, okay, here's the deal. We have 3 weeks left. I'm getting 2,000 friends. I will trade anyone who has the target market of women who are in fear and maybe need, you know, lessons about financial planning. I will ask them to friend. I will ask all my friends to friend you if you will ask me. If you'll ask all your friends to friend me. Does that make sense? It's an easy thing to do. It's an easy way to build your audience. You all have all spent time looking at who your target market is. Like, how many of you have women entrepreneurs as your target market? A slew of you. So start helping each other. I just, you know, it's like, I listened to Marianne Williamson this week who talked about so much stuff, but just like the power of women. If you put 10 or 20 women together, there is nothing we can't change. So if you think that the people in this class cannot get you enough friends to get you a large turnout at your video class, you are seriously mistaken. Seriously mistaken. So, Susan asks about the code again. The code is on the Ning site. It's the same code of how to invite all of your friends to a Facebook event. So all of you who've hedged on having a video event so far, you have to read the instructions about how to have a Ustream show. Or you can now do Vocal if you want to, but Vocal doesn't record, just so you know. You have to provide other means for Vocal to record. So I'm off my soapbox for that. But I will tell you, too, that one of the best things I've seen, and it was a client who recommended it to me, she said, I have a friend who is an interior designer, and she and her client are having that full conversation online. So she'll post on his wall, which of these lamps do you like? And she'll put up 3 lamps. And he'll be like, I like this one, I like that one, I like this one. And then his friends will be like, no, that one's awful, this one's great. So when any of them need an interior designer, who do you think they're going to think of? And a lot of times we make choices on who we buy stuff from just because, like, there's not a lot of time. You don't go out there and look up every interior designer in the world and figure out everything about them before you hire someone. You look for the first person who you think can fill your needs if you've had enough time to think about it. I was watching a show about home construction the other day. More people had hired contractors it was like a show about houses falling apart. They were like, yeah, we spent $1 million, but we were just in a hurry. We wanted the sidewalks done before winter. Like, they had their whole whenever to think about that, but they just buy because that's who's on the tip of their mind. So if any of you in this class start to, and I'm not going to get into, you know, all sorts of people have feelings about exchanges and that sort of thing, but I'll tell you, if you have a product for $50 and I have a product for $50, I'll trade you, I'll use your product, and I'll talk about it on Facebook. You all want to think about doing that for each other. You know, I've even mentioned to people, you want to think outside the box. You want to think about like a loaner program. Send your stuff, you know, in a postal prepaid box with the return postage to someone else in the class so they can sit down and do a video testimonial for you. They're not going to sit there and say, I bought this, da-da-da. They're just going to say, this is awesome. You're not misrepresenting the truth. We're not talking about, no one in here has gross products. So what you really want to think about, people talk about leveraged business models all the time. What you really want to think about is leveraged social media. How can you reach the largest number of people you need to be in touch with the fastest? And I'm, you know, super fond of, if it's not working, something's broken. So if you're doing the same thing that you've been doing the whole time and it's not working, the reason why is because something's broken in there. And so you need to start doing some different stuff. So I've seen people who have traded services, and actually this is what's hilarious. A friend of mine, the client of mine who had seen this interior designer and this friend go back and forth, I bought one of her packages. And she was like, can we talk about it online like that interior designer did? I thought it was so smart. Do you know how many people she sold to because I couldn't stop talking about her stuff online? I just couldn't. Like, when something's great, don't you want to share about it? The next teleclass that she did, the majority of people in that teleclass were my Facebook friends, because they would see me tag her and talk about how great she was all the time. I've seen it happen with other folks in even bigger ways. So you really want to figure out, like, who in this class has your target market? Who in this class do you vibe with? Be on their Facebook pages. Hold people accountable. Who's your mastermind partner in here? You came, you spent $495 for this class. Your point is to get results from this class. So think big. Try something huge. Why not? And here's the other thing that I'll just point out, and I please know that I get it. This weekend was tremendously difficult for me to think of ways to post about what was going on in my life that was respectful of the people who wanted privacy about it, that also really made me clear, because I have been talking about and keep hearing about being of service. And so this person got an organ donation, saved his life. So I was like, how do I post that on my page? Like, I want people to go sign up to be organ donors. And it's also really sensitive, and, you know, like trying to, like, I rewrote posts consistently, and there were a million posts I wanted to put out there that were about me and about my level of transparency that would not have been appropriate for this relationship that I have, where somebody didn't want me to be transparent. But what you really want to think about, isn't that funny? I have no idea where that thought was going. Oh, I get how hard, I totally get how hard it is. Some days I wake up, I can't even begin to figure out what to post. Some days I write posts and no one likes them. And you can just go in and delete them later if you want to. Social media should be a bit like a science experiment. You should be out of your comfort zone. And you should be writing posts that you go, oh, nobody's gonna like this one. I'm scared to death. I needed to call 3 people even before I put this up. Put the post up, but put before it, okay, I didn't know if I should post this or not today. I am terrified. And then put the post. Do you know how many people are going to be like, I totally get it. I'm so terrified also. They're going to bond with you at such a level. They did research, and posts with the word Facebook get more play than anything else. So if you talk about, I wouldn't talk about hating Facebook, because I don't think that you really want to be like, I hate anything and buy something from me. But if you talk about your fear, if you talk about your discomfort, if you talk about how you don't feel like posting every day, you can talk about me. You can put a tag for my name. Lindsay Wilson says I'm supposed to post every day and I don't want to buy my cookies or whatever. My 5,000 friends and I will come over there and say good things about you. It's just the way that it goes. Part of this is about understanding the psychology of things. So on days when you can't think of anything to do, even, sing the praises of someone else in this class who's got your target market. Do you know how good it feels to have people say nice things about you? If you give that to somebody else, they are going to come say nice things about you also. And the deal is, wouldn't you really want to have at your fingertips access to all the resources you need, who are from great people, you know you can count on it. Like, I love when I can put, I'd moved to LA only a year ago, and so I could put up on my page, who's a good masseuse. And I knew that there were going to be 20 people who would give me great recommendations. I could spend all day on Yelp, all day on Google, be so tense I just call whoever, have a horrible massage, and I knew I could trust the recommendations of any of those people. So bonding with the folks here in class, because you're of like mind, you know, like if we look at your business as 6 months from now, I bet the majority of you are all going to be climbing uphill and doing well. The foundational work you're laying right now on social media can't but help your business. And being connected with those people as they're continuing to grow their social media presence is huge. It's huge. So I have to say the smartest thing I said tonight was go on our Ning site and say, who's got my target market? I'll invite all my friends if you'll invite all your friends. And you don't want to do that every day, all day, because your friends are going to be tired of being invited all the time to other people. Some of your friends won't even notice in the first place. But if you're sick of friending, get those numbers up there. And I would also say, the other smart thing I said is post every day. Because you all are letting me down. I want to go there and say great things about you, and you're not there. And in the morning, it is statistically, you can look at how often people are going to respond to things and how much they're going to respond to them. And if you do it in the morning, you're just going to get so much more. What's that? A falling rock catches no grass or something like that. Well, you're going to catch a lot of grass if you do it in the morning. It's key. And then if you are just like crawling out of your skin because you don't want to put something specifically about your business, put Lindsay Wilson made me do this. I sell blah, blah, blah. And I want to let the world know. I am here to transform grief for people. And I want to let you know, if you have anyone that you know who needs help with that, have them email me. We're providing a service for the world, and they need to know it. So a couple of quick things, because I'm seeing, oh goodness, so I'm on 2 screens. I'm on Vocal and Ustream, so I apologize. Brenda asked me to repeat something, and I don't know what it was. Brenda, if you'll type in there what it was regarding, that would be awesome. Then Lonnie says, recommend a site for the signature for contract closure. Oh, I don't actually know those. So if you figure out contract closure, please let us all know on Ning, Lonnie. That would be awesome. And then also, JP says, what if your client is international? There are more Facebook users that are not in the United States than are in the United States. Slews of people who are in Australia buy self-help stuff. You have access to all of those people. So unless your clientele is not English speaking, which I would say would be a tremendous business difficulty, be on Facebook. You know, like, you're going to find them there. Look for some international organizations that they might belong to and look there also. But it's good news if your clientele is international. So a couple of other little housekeeping things that I will say is the questions about the timing of the daily post. So in the morning, every day. Morning, every day. Post once a day, every morning. Once a day, that's all. Only do once a day. For where you all are now. Then I would say the next Q&A for you all is on the 26th from 5 to 6, so mark your calendars for that. And more questions. The tweet URL to search groups. I didn't give one to, I gave one to search keywords, Lonnie, so feel free to ask that again in the Ning site, because it wasn't about groups. Time zone, I don't care. The point is just every day. I do it as early as I can on the West Coast because that's my time zone. That's where the majority of people I know are. If you've got East Coast clientele, then hook up your stuff through selective tweets and social oomph and schedule it for before you get up in the morning, and that's fine also. So I think that is about where we are. So I asked people to talk about what accomplishments they've had, and no one has said a single thing, unless I've missed them in the changeover to vocal. So I do think it's important to acknowledge accomplishments, and maybe you all had not heard me prior because there was such a problem with Ustream. But if you all can type in the box a little bit, because not only is it for me, but I want you all to celebrate each other's victories. You all are in a very similar circumstance, and so having each other's shoulder, having each other's support is awesome. And if we don't celebrate what works, then it's just too easy to dwell on what doesn't work. Especially social media is a daunting task. You all have taken on something that's really big, and you're doing a great job. So I would say, particularly if you don't want to post something that's great that you've done during the course of this class, post something, even if you think it's awful. It's just good to be vocal, because if you're not, I promise you it's happening in your social media too. Oh, I love it. Lonnie says people that target market people are finding her, and I love that. A Ning site for Debbie. JP, your books. Will you please tell us about your books that have arrived? Susan has a name for her new collection. Gina practiced Ustream. That's awesome, Gina. Prototype from the printer. That's so cool. So I would encourage you all, and you know, I know, and it's partially because of the role that I have in the class, things about you, very intimate things from many of you that you've posted on Facebook and that sort of thing. If you don't know 5 people well in this class that you would call friends, you are so not getting your money's worth. You are so not digging into the place that's deep. I would even just send people emails, ask them on Ning about stuff about them, and then get visible with that stuff. Get visible with that stuff, because what you're going to do, I used to work in the Body Shop in New York 5 million years ago, and they had an aloe contest, and it was just one weekend. It was like whoever sold the most aloe product. I still think about that freaking aloe contest. They trained me. It's like Pavlov's dog. All I want to do is sell aloe. I don't even work in a body shop anymore. And so the deal is that if you all start now connecting with each other, allowing yourself to have that intimacy, there are brilliant, brilliant, amazing, miraculous moments that can happen in social media where you are so like able to even transcend your life's purpose. I heard of someone that found an organ transplant on Facebook. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool. So if you start to practice these actions now, it's not going to be as hard with your target market. But if you're just someone who's not connecting with folks, you're going to miss out on where sales is going. And so you really want to dig in, do it, and know that no one even wants you to be perfect. And the people in this class are right alongside you, feeling probably as uncomfortable as you are. And also maybe able to support you in ways that you might not imagine. So, you know, if you're scared to do your video show, put a post up on the Ning site and ask somebody to do it with you. You all have a lot of support here. You have no idea. The group of people that are in this class could seriously, like if we put it all together and tried, I think we could probably, this is what's sad. Maybe we should try to solve world peace, but we'll save that for like bonus after the class. We'll see if we can get that done. But we can certainly rock each other's sales. There's no question in my mind about that. And if you're not finding your sales are starting to get higher, I'm going to bet your interaction with the people in the class hasn't been high enough. I love it. Gina says she's shy about asking for a mastermind partner. That's perfect. So Gina's freaking brilliant, designs amazing websites. If I weren't her teacher, I'd mastermind with her. Thank you, Susan. Very good. So you all, absolutely. And so that it means Susan and Debbie, if you both need mastermind partners, then also I would encourage you to type that on the screen right here and now. Because there are plenty of brilliant people out there who you can like cheat, hand each other your homework. I think that's good. Have somebody else write your post. That's one of the smartest things I've ever thought of. Do not form a group, Susan. I love you, and it's not helpful. Because then what happens is that it gets into weird group dynamics and stuff, and that's not... Here's the thing also. It's not even that. I want it to be intimate, and I want you to be accountable. And it's you're already in a group here. You have that experience here, and that's awesome. I love the idea, and the thing that I would say is that personal one-on-one masterminding will change your life. Totally change your life. Not only receiving information from someone, but giving information to someone else. That's really the secret of masterminding, is you're going to know exactly what they need to do in their business, and you're going to get off the phone with them and go, oh my gosh, if I can do that for somebody else, I can certainly do that for me. So, no, mastermind partner just needs, there is a conventional definition of mastermind partner that would mean, yes, you need a genius to come be your mastermind partner. That's not what we're talking about here even, so perhaps we shouldn't call it mastermind partner. You just need a buddy. You just need somebody who says to you, why didn't you post on Facebook today? Or they say to you, I am so scared to do my video show. I am ready to cry myself to sleep. And then you can go, me too, and it's going to be fine. I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to moderate that for you. We need partnership. Being an entrepreneur and doing it alone is not the way to do it. It takes 10 years more than if you have other people. So, yeah. Yep. Awesome. Lonnie says she's suffering with Ustream. I think everyone did tonight, unfortunately, Lonnie. That's why we threw the vocal link in there. So vocal you've got. I'm hoping that the Ustream recording worked, and I will get that stuff posted for you all. So your assignment for next week, just in case you missed it, is to find somebody and partner up. Start working on business with them. And you know what? Even if it's just asking them to friend your friends, that's fine with me. That's a start. If you all can think of a video show together, that's bonus. If you can think of a way to sell stuff together, that's amazing. You can definitely look at a group in terms of selling a bunch of stuff together. Freaking do a video series where each night someone new is featured, and it's everyone from this class. Do you know how that's going to impact your business in a way you cannot even begin to contemplate, because you are going to have friends for life from the people you do it with. You're going to have viewers who adore you all because they get to see you, and video is so fun and new. You're going to be courageous because you will have walked through this, and you're going to get some sales. So that's my bazillion-dollar idea tonight. You all should organize that. Who's going to organize the ongoing? But here's the other thing, and this is something that I've fallen into, so I'll just say this is the last piece. Do not become the organizer at the expense of your sales. You need to know exactly what it is that's going to make sales for you, but having a mastermind partner, getting more involved with each other on Ning, I know that that's going to make sales for you. So if you think that doing this alone is the route to go, I have loads of experience as a person and doing so much alone. It does not work. And the fast and pleasurable way to do business is with other people. Invest in their business with your heart. They will invest in your business with your heart, and you will have unbelievable resorts. You'll have resorts in Bali and okay. So I'm off to go ask for more help. I have somebody who's helping me with my wedding today. I woke up in tears. I was like, I'm so overwhelmed. It wasn't really that dramatic. It was also PMS, which is way too much information. So I'm going to sign off.